I'm going to talk about what has happened in last 1 year due to COVID-19 and how it has impacted the cultural sector and the creative economy broadly around the world, but also how the individual artists and groups of various performing arts have been impacted by it, and how the government has not done enough for the artists. I'm going to actually begin with three very short clips from YouTube, just to talk about the kind of performances that we all, and you might have already watched it in the last year, the kind of performances which were emerged during lockdown, performances which emerged out of from those places by those people that we could have not imagined. Some of those performances. So very short clips, one after the other, and then I'll speak. So I'll share my screen. Just a sec. Can you hear the audio? Can you hear the audio?
No, we can't hear your audio.
Oh, okay. Just a sec. So you might have seen this already. Going to show another performance. And then so I just wanted to show these three kinds of performances that all of us must have watched through our WhatsApp channels or on the social media. And what was really remarkable in the beginning, that for many of the artists and non-artists, like the policemen from Bangalore that we were seeing, how people were using visual arts or theater or dance or music or whatever performing arts they were in to also make sense of the situation. Because when the lockdown happened, the first question that hit all the entire artist community across the world is how to make sense of it. Because it's not that especially people who are involved in the live performances, and the idea of watching theater, watching any performance art, watching a street performance or music concerts, the idea is to be able to sit next to or a film to next to each other and share that experience, share that affect of the performance. And suddenly the theater spaces were all shut, concerts were cancelled, and so on and so forth. So when last year March the lockdown happened, while we saw people singing in their balconies and also showing solidarity with people who had distressed atmosphere in their house because people were dying around them, or to also the sense of isolation among the artist community. So various people were dealing with distress while using their the art form, whichever art form they would practice. But it was very clear by the end of April, May, that it's going to be a very long year. Initially we all thought that lockdown will open, theaters will open, so on and so forth. But how it is going to affect the livelihood of an individual artist, or for example a street performer, a madari, or a puppeteer, was something that all of us were very very worried about. And it was also the time when UNESCO, an organization like UNESCO, called it around the world, they called it a cultural emergency. And they also urged organizations like EU and other cultural organizations to also invest or to help or to support financially the artist community in their country. What happened at that time was, why this cultural emergency or why the distress? Because suddenly we saw that in the midst of this health crisis, art and culture became the non-essential. People who were teaching theater in school, people who were taking workshops, arts workshop, other sorts of workshops related to cultural forms in schools, colleges, they were all asked to put their practice on hold. And suddenly the projects were cancelled around the world. And so the distress levels started to increase. And there is a recent report, recent in the sense it was published in December 2020, which was done by an arts organization that is involved in research practice, ArtX, with the British Council and FICCI. They spoke to about 368 organizations and people in India. And they basically, the report is available online on British Council's site. And they did two sets of reports, and they basically said that how for example, people who were running spaces, cultural spaces and art spaces, they were finding it very hard to continue. And as a result, many of those spaces were just shut down. And one can now look at it as an effect of the pandemic. Yes, of course, it was an effect of the pandemic at that time. But what has also happened in India over the years, that the arts, the performing arts, is, while it contributes to a huge amount of revenue in tourism, especially the folk arts, or the quote unquote traditional art forms, there is not really an engagement with the art, even with the arts. Even the grants or the schemes by the cultural ministry are long meetings, long time. Some people get it, we don't know how do they get it, what is the process. Sangeet Natak Academy are some schemes are already there, but the overall idea or the overall attitude towards the arts and cultural practices in India was something which was foregrounded even more forcefully during the lockdown. So while we see that in March the lockdown happens, and if we look at let's say Germany, in April, Angela Merkel, she announces about out of 130 billion stimulus package that she announces, 1 billion euros was invested in supporting the freelance artists and the cultural sector as a whole. In India, it was not the case. So, and these were the times, and I'm talking about the early April, May, June, when the migrant crisis, we started to see these visuals on media, and everybody was talking about the reverse migration. People were in distress, going back, and what was happening when we were talking about the workers? Uh, Again, coming back to the idea that how the government has previous governments also, but this government particularly has a certain way of looking at culture and has a particular imagination of culture. So culture is only religion, probably religion, or not for probably, but for them it's the temple, it's all these historical sites that they want to appropriate and say that these were at some point Hindutva sites. So there, in their particular Hindutva imagination of culture, a normal a person who has been on a survival mode already, a street performer for say, and when I say street performer, I don't mean street theater people, I mean people who are who are like nut kartabs, like Patputli colony artists, or even freelance actors or makeup artists or carpenters who work at the National School of Drama or other organizations. They are not part of this imagination. So when we were looking at these workers, the government was actually, I would say that the cultural worker or people who are engaged in arts and culture, they were even more marginalized during that time. And we see that all the emergency packages that Madam Finance Minister Nirmala Sita Raman announced for 3 days, there were several things which were not included in that, and culture definitely was not included. So there was no package announced. At the individual level, yes, many state governments were trying to help, but those packages also came later. So for example, in Kerala, about 30,000 artists were given rupees 1,000 over a period of time per month, so just to be able to buy ration and so on, and money was transferred. Similarly, there were in Assam, some artists were given such really small meager packages. In Rajasthan, they said that they asked folk artists to record 15 to 20 minutes long videos and send it to the Ministry of Tourism and Culture, and they were given some amount if their video would be selected. So we see that these measures were taken, but they were definitely not enough. And when we saw the artist community already in distress, trying to make sense, what form do we use, if not live performance, digital, this and that, we see that there were also artists who started to raise funds for the other artists, artists who had the privilege of on a particular position even within the art world. So for example, Shubha Mudgal and Anish Pradhan, they started something, a fundraising campaign called Adda, basically assistant to musicians family, but they were able to, it was a huge fundraising, and the idea was to give 5,000 rupees to each family for 6 months, and it ended in October. So even the artist to artist efforts, such efforts were what we see were not enough, because the cultural ministry or the government, especially the central government, were not really looking at culture as a priority, which is not to do with the pandemic. I think that culture, in when we talk about politics, we often miss out, and we talk about media and so on. We often do not think about culture as cultural expressions as the most important you know element of how it can help us to get over situations like these that we found ourselves in. So while all these smaller efforts were very well intentioned, they were certainly not enough. And what also happens is that when we think of mm, artists, we think of dance, we think of often we think of only musicians, theater people. But even when we start, you know, maybe puppeteers now, because we see puppeteers, I mean, we now get to read a little bit more about them. But then there are weavers, then there are craftsmen, then there are women who are involved in Patachitra, for example, in West Bengal. There are actors, and I said earlier that there are makeup artists, carpenters, technicians, people who do lights for theater, people who do lights. So that workforce in the cultural industry has never been talked about. And what the pandemic did is to foreground these the hierarchical relationship within the performing arts, but also how people who are working at the backstage are not considered, or their culture, the labor that they put in is not considered, and that's why they're not part of our imagination, of audience's imagination, and certainly not the government's imagination. We see that people's archive of rural India, they have done several stories about some of these artists. Another thing that the government, I would say that it's also difficult to get in general also to get benefits of these schemes, because many of the artists in India do not fall under the categories that have been created by the cultural ministry, and that has also happened over the years. So for example, there is this one particular story that I was reading the other day, that there are people who make instruments. There are people in Kerala who make mridangams. Now they are not musicians like that, they are not considered musicians. People who repair harmoniums. There is a community in Jabalpur, in the Bundelkhand area, who travel every year for 9 months to Maharashtra to family, with their entire family and their luggage, to repair harmoniums. And when the lockdown happened, they were all stuck at one place in Maharashtra. And when we see that, do we consider them artists? They are definitely contributing to the creative industry, but because they do not fit into any category of labor in the cultural sector, they are completely, they cannot avail any benefit of such schemes that the cultural ministry has to offer. Similarly, the Madari colony in Ghaziabad, what we see, people who are displaced from Katputli colony in West Delhi and have been thrown at various places in Delhi, Nangloi, Anand Parbat, Azadpur, Madari colony in Ghaziabad, they have been struggling already. They have for last 3-4 years, they're already in a survival mode, and the lockdown, and without any kind of government support, even not even from the Delhi government, they were like completely hand to mouth. And what also, the third larger point I want to make is that what also happened, that because of unavailability of resources on day-to-day basis, or to be able to go and perform at public places because of social distancing norms and the very real threat of by the virus, one can see it as an advantage that many people turned towards the digital platforms. Many artists, so for example, if Rajasthan government is asking folk artists to send them 15 to 20 minutes video, a Manganiyar or any other folk singer in Rajasthan probably will be able to may or may not be able to send those videos, because not everybody has the technology. So while the larger urban artist community was able to immediately turn towards the digital, Instagram, Facebook, social media, YouTube Live, Zoom performances, so on and so forth. They were able to do it within like first 2 months while grappling with the whole situation. The smaller artists, the individual artists who do not work with any group, who do not have any support, their only way that they generate revenue for them, their community, and for themselves is through performing in public spaces. While it is a organized concert or not, or while it is an organized performance or not, but going into public spaces, and that was completely shut down for them. So while there was this upsurge of experimentation and exploration in the performing arts by various artists in the urban area, the issue of the access to the internet also became very, very important within the artist community. Who can access it? So, for example, I can talk about Jan Natya Manch. I work with Jan Natya Manch I've been working with Jan Natya Manch for a very long time. We are primarily a street theater group, and we thought, what do we do? We cannot go to a working class area anymore. We cannot, be part of the larger trade union movements and the protests that were happening. So what do we do? So we started, doing readings and so on and so forth. Also, other people were doing similar sorts of work, and so we did that. But what happened in this particular case, or in several other artist cases who were able to switch to the internet performances, is that we were able to gain new audiences. But the disadvantage was that we lost our core audience, that live, the audiences which live in the working class area. Not everybody. I mean, it's really an assumption when we say, okay, ab to sab jagah pe internet pahunch gaya hai, sab jagah pe smartphone hai. It's really an assumption, because there are a lot of people still in the working class area who do not have smartphones. The women do not have smartphones, for sure. In the entire household, there will be 1 or 2 smartphones, and this is something that we have gathered while talking to people, not just during the lockdown, but even before. So our performance were restricted only for the audiences on the internet. And so imagine a folk artist from West Bengal, a Patachitra artist, from Bolpur, Bengal, is not able, that it is not her, she cannot put her art on the internet. So how do we do it? In some cases, some state governments said that you can send us the video and we will put it up on our tourism websites and so on. But not many. Some people also said that that you send us your products, and products as in it could be a performance, it could be a puppet and so on, and you can put it up on a website and you will sell, and then the revenue will come to you. So all these explorations were happening, but still, I mean, in a country which, I mean, we generate such a large amount of revenue through tourism, and by showing that, okay, these are the folk performance artists, this is the quote unquote incredible India, how rich our cultural practices are. They are. But when in the times of crisis, this whole narrative, at the ground level, everything collapsed. And the artist and the artist that is working in the rural belt, in the semi-urban belt, they were really hand to mouth. And when I say they were, I want to add that they are still hand to mouth. So also when they were performing on the digital platform, those who could, they were not paid the same amount of money that they would have been paid when they were doing live performances. So in any case, and for many of them, the projects were cancelled. At the international level, if we say, even one of the largest circus company from Montreal, Canada, Circus du Soleil, they were already going through certain financial crisis during the pandemic, during the lockdown. And I'm talking about Canada. I'm not even talking about a puppeteer from Katputli colony. 95% of the workforce in the company, in the circus company, was laid off. And eventually the company was, during the pandemic, during the lockdown, the company was declared bankrupt. So if this is happening to a first world, if some other groups also I know in the first world who were, while they have huge amount of money through their arts council, so on and so forth, they were shut down. They're still not working. They're trying to get back on their feet. So imagine that when the government doesn't support, when the government is only, pushing people to raise funds for a temple, but not the community. 500 crore rupees project has been approved and has been already in the stage of implementation by the Uttar Pradesh government around Ayodhya. So you will have Ramayan Park, you will have Sita Kund ke aspas, you will have new architectures, architect buildings coming up and so on. 500 crores. But the same government did not have anything to give to the artist community, to the Mirasi community and other communities in the state. So when I say culture has become is not the priority, I mean a kind of cultural imagination is not the priority of the government. And the last point I want to make is, which is an interesting point, and I think from that is what the artist community can take it up. The solidarity that Raji was just talking about, that how people in the media came and stood in solidarity. What we saw during the lockdown, and I'm not talking about a group like Jan Natya Manch or a cultural organization that has been working so long in the working class areas with the trade unions. I mean, the mainstream theater people, the mainstream artists, dancers, musicians, people who do have certain, have created names for themselves through their art, that the binaries between who is an artist and who's an activist, that got broken down, which was very interesting, because suddenly all the artists who were, when they saw these really gut-wrenching images of migrant workers going back, everybody got in, not everybody, I shouldn't say it, but several of the artists got into the mode of how can we provide them dry ration, how can we help them, how can we go to them and give them biscuits, give them, and people in Bangalore, people like Abhishek Majumdar, in Delhi, Anurupa Roy, or even there's a small group of people that I work with, Delhi Kalakar Fund. We started to raise funds to be able to provide ration to these people, and the artists who have never worked with any grassroots organization and have always worked in their own theater circuit, their own performing arts circuit, actually went onto the streets and actually for the first time saw these satellite colonies around the theater spaces that they have been performing. And they also, to be able to reach out to maximum number of people, many of these artists also collaborated with the trade unions, with the women's organizations. Even in some cases, they also tried to pursue the local, in the states where there are BJP governments, to tell them that, this is your area, you need to provide ration. It should not just be the artist community or the privilege. It is also your. So these sort of conversations they were able to have. They also, many cases, while talking to the local MLAs, they also failed miserably, because they were also, I have heard examples that in Bangalore, in particular areas, how a BJP MLA would give ration only to the families of RSS pracharaks in the same community, in the same slum. So how so the artists who were, I would say, many of them, not all of them, but many of them who have been living in their own artistic bubble, they also came out and started to collaborate. And what was remarkable, which I think is, I would say is very interesting, and we have already started to see that how artist community contributed to people's protests. We already saw some examples during the anti-CA protests, which happened right before the lockdown, that artists were going there and contributing through their art, in cash, in kind, and so on and so forth. And then the lockdown happened. So I think it was also that impulse that was carried out here. But for the first time, I saw that several of the artists in India were able, they started to think about labor as an issue, and it reflected in the content they started to produce. So labor, the that many of us right now who are listening and hearing this conversation since afternoon, many of us have been working on labor, on the issue of class, through our respective fields. But many of these artists who have never, their plays were never about the labor. They were plays which were about, some of them had produced plays earlier on the idea of migration. But this was the time which really kind of jolted them, and it started to reflect in the artwork that they were producing. Many of them also put up festivals, like Katkatha Puppet Trust. They put up online weekend festival. They said that we will put our performances online, and the money that we will get, ticket money, we will buy dry ration and give it to people who are going back, or the migrant laborers who were stuck in the city during the lockdown. So I think that while we see government doing really nothing, because in February, when the union budget was announced this time, we all the time we talk about various sectors, the budget cut in education, this and that, but in culture also there has been a 15% budget cut. Archaeological, the ASI has been not given the amount of money which they used to get in the previous year, and it is all in the name of, while the government is going hammer and tong saying that, oh, the economy is flourishing and so on, the artist community, the cultural worker, they are really not getting anything. The culture ministry scheme for various functions, for building grant, this grant and that grant, they are not going to the artist who is living in Madari colony, the artist who is living on the street, the artists who have lost their jobs because there are no productions, the artists who are the carpenters who build sets for theater. They do not have any jobs. And I have been involved in certain such initiatives, and till January we have been getting 1 or 2 calls every month, people that we have helped in the beginning, in the summer last year, that they still do not have any job. They still do not know how to go about it. Many of them also had people who COVID survivors, but many of them were also very ill. So that's the 1 year of pandemic and the impact on the artists and the cultural sector. Thank you.